It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, you have the one and only Dr. Janell Harvey. She's in the building, and she'll be talking about from pain to purpose. We're going to learn how you can transform your strengths or your weaknesses into your strengths. What's going on, Dr. Janell? How are you? Or is it Dr. Harvey? Which one should I call you today?
You can call me Janell, friend. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm her friend, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that kind of cool? If I'm her friend, that means you are also her friend. So thank you all, friends, for allowing us to stream into your home during these very remarkable, and I will say, challenging times that we're living in right now. And I will say that. All right, Janell, quick question before we get started. I just want to address the elephant in the room, which is purpose. And purpose means so many things to so many people. What's your definition of purpose? And why is even knowing your purpose more important now than ever before?
I think your purpose is your unique DNA that God assigned you, even when were in your mother's womb. For those of us that are believers, we know that in the book of Jeremiah, it said that God knew you when your mom was carrying you. So even when you were just a little egg in your mom's womb, He purposed you to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, a teacher. And it's so important to know your purpose because also in the book of God, it says that we are blessed to be a blessing. So God gives us all of these different skills and abilities, and we go out into the world and we help other people who may not know what their abilities are and help to strengthen them so they can go forth and be all they've called to be as well.
Oh, I love that. And thanks for being on the show today. I know you've had a cold and a lot of different things going on. So I appreciate you being here and speaking with our audience today. You talked about purpose, and I don't want to go down too far of a track, but I'm curious. There's two types of folks who might be listening right now. And I'm just curious what your view of the world is. One is someone that says, I have no idea, Dr. Janell, what my purpose is, or how do you even know when you're in your purpose? And it's a loaded question. I get that. But what would you say to that person is just curious of, how do you know when you're in your purposes? How do you find a purpose? What would you share with them?
I know we often hear that saying, when you do something that you love, you never work a day in your life. I
Yes.
think that your purpose is often aligned with that. Those things that you do so well that if you did it all day, you find enjoyment and pleasure out of it, and other people are blessed. So I think that so for some people, purpose could be writing, it could be teaching, it could be hosting a platform, being a blessing to others like you, and our purposes vary.
Now, is it possible, or this is Shay Brown, I'm probably the one who has this question. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about this pain to purpose because, how do you get out of pain? But for the persons out there who's curious, can your purpose shift over time? I mean, there was a time I was a young man. I'm a little bit older now. Was a time that I didn't have any kids, by the way. Now I have two grown adults, by the way. They're gone from home. I'm an empty nester. So my question to you is, does someone's purpose transition from one to another? And if so, is that something they even recognize or something they need to be aware of?
I think that there's elevation in your life, and in some instances, your purpose could change. Before I got married, I did a lot of work in the community. Before I had children, I was able to be there for people. But you know that your first mission is your home. So once I became a wife and a mom, some of those things that I was able to do, I couldn't fulfill to the full of the extent because now my priority is my children and my husband. So yes, I do believe that your purpose can change.
Okay, good stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know many of you know who Janell is. By the way, she's famous all over the world, I'm sure. And some of you don't even know who she is at all. You're like, who is this person, Shay? I like what I'm hearing. Sounding good. She started off right, saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm a Christian. You don't have to be a Christian to watch the show today, but she said she is one. I didn't say that. She said she's one. And some of you may have resonated with that. So we'll get into her backstory in a minute. We'll get to that. But I'm curious. She says pain to purpose. At the risk of sound like a comedian here, why are people struggling to release any pain that they had that's holding them back? I mean, it seems like they can go to AI and get a full laid out plan. Like seriously, step by step, exactly what to do to move forward, yet they're stuck in the pain that they had. Why do you think that's the case for some folks? Again, a general statement. What's holding them back?
I believe we hear mental health so much, whether it be on social media, on various platforms, and I think the mental capacities of some people can prevent them from moving forward. I know you're going to get into this later on, but I struggled so long with low self-esteem growing up. Like I wouldn't even look people in their face. I would walk around and look at my feet because I just felt horrible because of a severe burn that was on my face. And I think sometimes people's mental states or situations they've been in, maybe someone told them they were incapable, and words have creating powers. To keep going back to the word of God, I'm sorry, but God said, let there be light. And what happened? The whole world lit up. So words are powerful. And I think sometimes when we say things to people out of anger or bitterness or because we want to get back at them, we don't realize that those words can have long lasting effects. So I think mental health is one of the biggest issues that prevent people from moving forward.
Again, not to put you on the spot, but if someone's out there right now struggling with mental health, and just mentally they're having a hard time getting out the bed, or maybe they're a functioning person, they go to work every day, but yet on the inside they're torn down. What words of encouragement? Again, ladies and gentlemen, she's not going to ask whatever question I want, so I'm just asking. But what words of encouragement would you share with that person that's tuned in right now and says, "No, Shay, I'm in it right now. Got some news from the doctor. Shay, I'm in it right now. Something happened with a family member. Shay, it's going on now. What could she say to me? What would she say to me now?" Do you mind speaking to that person on the other side of the camera that's watching now?
Absolutely. My sister or brother, whoever you may be, I want you to know that I love you. There are people around you that love you. Sometimes we are in situations where we get all these thoughts that people have rejected us because of whatsoever happened. Going back to the word of God, God's in his word says, even when you were in your mother's womb, he knew you. He created you for such a time as this. And sometimes we go through devastation. It could have bbeen maybe we were abused as a child. Maybe, I don't know, you just routinely failed in a certain subject area. But God is a healer. He's a reconciler. And if you put your faith in him, he could turn anything around. I know that's hard to believe. My dad, who passed away, he would have made his 75th birthday this year. But he dealt with so many mental illnesses because he fought in the Vietnam War, and he went overseas. And just some of the tragedy that he succumbed to and witnessed, it had a mental impact on him going forward. And he could have been much more than he was. He was a phenomenal man, but he wrote books. I think I get my speaking abilities from him, but he was nervous in a lot of areas because of what happened. So if there is someone at home with you that you can reach out to, if you could just meditate and pray, just know that we love you, and there's no good thing that our God will withhold from you.
Said so well, by the way, spot on. You know, I think it's a good time to slow down, and maybe we'll speed back up in a minute and take a moment and tell folks who you are. There's someone right now that's in the kitchen and they're cooking and they're hearing it and says, "Whoa, I heard a few things I like over there," by the way. Some of you listen to the podcast. Thank you so much for downloading the podcast. Or if you're watching us live, or you can watch us and we're streaming it right now and they're there no matter where you are, thank you. But now let's find out who this is, because they didn't read your bio. They don't know. So take a moment. You know the question, who are you? And what's the backstory that led you to doing what you're doing now?
Sure. I am a initial resident of Gary, Indiana, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson. I currently live in another city very close. I am a wife of 15 years. I have two wonderful boys. I own Harvey Nonprofit Consulting Group. So we work with organizations throughout the U.S. interested in starting a nonprofit. So what we do is we complete forms 1023 and 1023EZ, which are the forms that help you to become a bona fide nonprofit. I also have courses that I've created that I teach at the United Steel Corporation, Indiana University, the Urban League, and any other organization that wants to partner. So I have a federal grant writing course, a course in foundation grants, and also how to start and sustain your nonprofit. And I love to see people, I have a purpose to help people pursue their passion. That's what I like to say. So if you have a passion you want to bring it to fruition, that's what I do. I help you to turn that purpose into full driven passion so you can move forward.
The difference between passion and purpose. I like that. You said take our purpose, which you talked about extensively a few minutes ago, into our passion. Tell us a little bit more about passion. What does that look like? What does that feel like these days?
I think passion is just a feeling you get that if you didn't do something, you would just feel horrible that day. So if I went the whole day and didn't talk to my husband, something is wrong. You need to call me. So in the business aspect, passion is just skill sets that you have. Some people like to write, some people like to sing. And if that's their bag, if that's their jig, that's something that they got to do every day. So it's a wholehearted commitment to something that you just have to attach yourself to on a daily basis.
I think it's a fair question. When did you know you was in your passion?
My mother used, I think it's because I maybe because I talked too much growing up, but
What?
she would buy me notebooks. She would buy me notebooks every time we went to the grocery store. So when we go home, she would say, "Go to your room and write me a story." So those notebooks just accumulated, and over the years, I just found different avenues to write, whether it would be creative writing, grant writing, and she like stirred that gift up as early as like 6 or 7. So I believe my mother showed me my abilities in writing, probably to hush me up, but yeah, it was at an early age.
Ah, it's good age. And don't worry, ladies, I'll ask in a few minutes what are 3 steps that you can do to go from pain to purpose. You might have 3 steps she can share with you. But many of you, as you listen right now, are saying, Shay, I like what I'm hearing. And let her know who we are because I'm curious on how she's able to juggle running a business, being in her passion, and she keeps talking about family. So the question is, a number of our folks are dualpreneurs, by the way. They work a full-time job and they're a full-time entrepreneur, and some of them have a husband or a wife or in a relationship. Others are caregivers like myself, by the way. Others are all of those and they have kids and their kids have schedules, by the way. Some of them are like, wait a minute, I'm involved in my community. I'm involved in my church. And the others are waving their hands saying, Shay, we got a list of more stuff we're involved in. Just ask her the question. And the question is, how does someone juggle all of that and still have a balanced relationship? I think you said 16 years. I think a wife for 16 years. How are you able to make that work?
Well, with anything, nothing is a flowery bed of ease, as I often hear one of my friends say. So there are some times when things may fall, and I may have to call my husband to pick the boys up from baseball, or I try my best to stick to a game plan. If I have a meeting with a client, I'm definitely going to make it. If that means that something special is happening with my kids, then I may have to change that specific meeting with my client. But I try my very best to make sure that whatever I've committed to is sustained. My husband works at the mill. Sometimes he works double shifts and all sorts of different shifts, but my family is always able to step in and help out to make sure that commitments are fulfilled.
Ah, okay. Thanks so much. We appreciate that. Now, is there any time that you find time for yourself as well through all the stuff you got going on? And if so, what's the importance of self care and making sure you're in your purpose and in your passion?
So that's something I need to work on, doing a better job of making
What?
sure
You're
I
not
take
you're
time
not
out
you're not
to
perfect over there. What?
no, sure I take time out for myself because my kids are in all sorts of things, and I want to be there for them. So no, nowhere near perfect, but yeah, I need to take more time out to commit and take care of them.
I love it, by the way. You're so authentic. You're so transparent. This is so refreshing. It's so cool. Some people's life is just perfect. You're like, nope, mine's not perfect, by the way. Take a moment, if you would, and share maybe it's 3 steps. We're talking about pain to purpose at the end of the day. And maybe there are 3 things that someone could do, or maybe it's 4 things, I don't know, that they can do right now to have that transition and make it a little smoother, a little easier. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, you might get a paper and pencil out and take a couple notes. And if it's not for you, please pay this forward to someone else. Like bless someone else along this way.
Okay. I think one important thing is to read. When I was pursuing my master's and working on my thesis, I actually had to take an extra year because my committee chair just felt like I didn't have enough books. Although it could have been 30, she wanted like 60. So even though you may have worked in a particular position for years, there are so many books and resources to help take your game plan to the next level. So invest in a library. If you're strategic planning, if you're marketing, make sure you have ample resources to help support what it is that you're doing. I would also say, as Che reminded me, take time out for yourself, which is something that I need to do a whole lot get a whole lot better at, but it's fundamental. You want to be here for your family in years to come. I'm sure you have a business that's probably going to be a legacy, but you want to make sure that you're healthy and that you're committed to yourself. And then finally, get out and network. Here in Northwest Indiana, they have what's called the Executive Director Coffee. So you can go out and network with people in the community. Maybe there's a large scale program that you can't do by yourself, but there are people in your community that can partner with you. So always make yourself visible and go out and connect with other like minded people.
So important, which is how we got a chance to meet through a networking opportunity that we're both part of, by the way. So that's really amazing. For those folks that are listening, I think it's a good transition. We have a segment here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks tuning in every night, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you already know what we're about to do. In fact, you can go ahead and say those magical words with me right now. Today is my January 1st. Doesn't that feel good? Happy New Year to you, by the way. And for all the new folks who are tuning in for the very first time, today is my January 1st is our personal mantra. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is, the past really no longer equals the future. And so my question for Janell on the other side, as she's sitting there, is really two parts. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And number two, what was a time you had that was a setback that created a January 1st moment for you? And what was it?
Okay. So I think my January 1st moment is probably thinking that I wasn't good enough. I know I have all these things that I've done, but there was a time in my life, as I mentioned, as a young girl, when I had a severe burn on my face. And it was horrible. There were rumors that I was sick and all sorts of things, but it just had a real bad toll on my mental health. Um, and there were opportunities that came for me to pursue different initiatives when I grew older, but because of my level of self-esteem, I just didn't take them. And it took a whole lot of training and networking and meeting with people to reinforce that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, reading my Bible, and just starting over, just realizing that I had potential and worth. When I went off to school, I actually went to a school in Missouri. It was an all women's college, but I had opportunities to go elsewhere. But because the level of insecurity that I had, I just didn't feel that I was worthy of those opportunities. But as I got into my 20s, I pursued different opportunities. I had mentors, and here I am today.
Wow. You know, one of the things I love to ask when we have time, and we have a few minutes here, is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I'll frame it for the audience so they understand that you've read more books than you can possibly remember these days. You've probably watched more videos than you can probably remember these days. At least I can't remember all the videos I've watched, by the way. But if you had to step back and say, wow, Shay, here's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given. Here's what it is and why. What would you share with us?
I would say don't compare yourself to anybody. We all have our own pathway. What is destined for you is not destined for me. So I don't think it's fair for me to compare myself to anybody. I know I often hear people say, I should have been here by now, or I should have been there by now. But sometimes we have to keep going through, I think, situations so that once we get to where it is we're supposed to be, we can say, if it had not been for this or that, this is how I got here. So at least nobody in my family was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. So we had to go through rough times. We had to go through hard times. And eventually, God placed us where we're supposed to be. So never compare yourself to anybody. And whatever pathway that you have, just keep pursuing it. And eventually, you will get there.
I like that. Eventually, you'll get there. Now, you know, one of the things that I've struggled with, and I'm probably the only one here that has, because you talk about pain to passion and making sure you're following your purpose and your passion, is something called consistency. Now, this is not for you, ladies and gentlemen. You can just step to the side and say, I know you're Mr. and Mrs. Consistent out there, but you may have heard this before, Janell, that consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. And having said that, what do most people struggle with most? They struggle with consistency. So take a moment and share, what's one of your ideas or secrets to helping folks be consistent on the journey of just doing the things they know they should do?
I think it goes back to that conversation we had about passion. When you're committed to something, like in a relationship, it's a commitment. You're going to be consistent and available for whatever it is that you endeavor to do. Another thing that I found, because I like to write, is keeping a journal. So you could purchase an inexpensive one at the dollar store and write down things that you need to do and just check them off. I know that sounds old school, but that's something that I have committed myself to doing. And we're human. Sometimes we forget, sometimes we get sick, sometimes things come up. But just always having that line of communication to let people know that I can't be there, or allowing somebody to step in your place.
I love it. Well said, by the way. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world? Helping folks in their nonprofit business, helping folks go from purpose to passion, making a difference for for other people. What do you do for fun, or do you get a chance for any fun these days?
I try my best, but when I do have fun, my boys and my husband and I, we go to $2 movie night. So there's on Tuesday.
They actually still exist?
Yes,
At night?
movie theaters. Yes.
Wow,
So
cool.
if I don't have to work late or work with a client, we go check out movie night, eat a bunch of unhealthy, greasy popcorn, and just kick it for the night. So that's our fun.
I love it. Now, is any one genre movie that you really like that's like top of mind to you? Like, yeah, this is one of my favorite movies.
Not really. My kids and my husband love horror stories. I'm not a fan of that. But anything like comedy.
All you do is just go along, right?
That's right. But comedy, I love comedy. So anything comedy is good.
Oh man, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. As we come down the home stretch, by the way, two-part question. Number one, what type of clients do you look to work with these days, if any? I'm not sure if you're taking on any additional clients. And number two, how can folks connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have right now?
Okay. So I only work with individuals interested in the nonprofit sector. If you are a for-profit individual working in that arena, I do have colleagues that I can refer you to. So if you're interested in participating in a one-on-one as it relates to getting your strategic plan together, if you want to start a nonprofit organization, if you're interested in learning how to write federal, corporate, or foundation grants, if you are at a university, if you need training for your board of directors, I do all of those things. So anything dealing with nonprofit fundraising or nonprofit development, you can reach out to me. I am on Facebook. My username is Harvey NPO. So N as in Nancy, P as in Peter, O as in Olive. Harvey NPO.
Well, let me say two things. Number one, thank you so much for being here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I know you can always make more money, but you can make more time. And you give us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show. So I appreciate you being here, by the way, and I'll never get tired of reminding you, every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, by the way, no matter where you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming, or you're going to that next level of success, whatever that next level of success looks for you. One thing I believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason, I believe your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. We'll make some good things out. We connect again next time. God bless. Peace. We'll see you on the other side. We out.